Back to the Posscast, where we dig through the sewers of Reddit to bring you the worst RPG horror stories of the week. And when we say week, we mean like within the last 2 weeks or so. Because not everything can be, not all the best ones can be found in 7 days. We browse the subreddit throughout the week and look for good ones. So.
Totally.
Yeah.
I totally don't just open it up on Friday and be like, that looks like a good one.
I open it usually Wednesdays and Fridays. I found some very interesting ones. So this is gonna be a little bit not safe for work, because the ones I have are definitely not safe for work. So do not hand the headphones to your boss under any circumstances.
If you do, we'll call him a cuck.
Yeah, call him a beta cuck. Make an entire video about how you're so much of an alpha male that you bring out a pizza you refuse to recycle just to try and prove a point to a teenage girl that called your dick small. And then the pizza gets you arrested.
She said I had a tiny wiener.
Yeah, and then you get arrested because the pizza was used to prove you were in the country. That's not going to date this video at all. God, I am so glad that happened.
Boy.
That was such beautiful news, and hearing how it happened.
Oh my god, the Wikipedia article was edited 8 minutes ago.
Oh. God, Greta Thunberg is a goddamn hero.
Yep.
Anywho, on to the stories. The one I'm reading was posted 10 days ago by Doc Chicken Wing. It's got 885 upvotes, and it is called "This is D&D, not an outlet for your sexual frustrations."
Oh boy.
You're gonna love this intro.
What?
This goes back all the way to 2005, 2006. The internet was still a new expanse. AOL and MySpace were still popular. And we were a group of nerdy teens who were expanding our self-determination by playing D&D or some other tabletop RPG. It's been almost 20 years, so the exact date and tabletop RPG does not come to mind. Anyway, the cast is me, a 15 to 16-year-old male that looks 22, Horny, a 14 to 15-year-old male that is with a developing body and of a middle-aged plumber, or with the developing body of a middle-aged plumber, DM, a 17 to 18-year-old male, friends, a group of 3 or 4 other males in the ages between 15 and 17 years old. Alright. The reason why I point out body types will become apparent later in the story. Anyway, we're a group of mainly nerdy and kind of socially awkward teens. We were into anime, manga, video games, reading old sci-fi, and so on. The DM at the time had a job and used his money to acquire some tabletop RPG books and wanted to try running a campaign. Horny had taken the liberty of asking his parents if we could do it at their house, as they live close to our high school, and for the younger generation, a high school and a bus route we could use to get home after that. They agreed because they were also nerds and excited for the younger generation to pick up tabletop RPGs. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. Sometimes I skip lines or have trouble keeping up with what line leads to where. Anywho, Horny told us, and we all agreed and started planning everything. We didn't make our PCs until day 1. That way we were all in the room, we knew all the stat rolls were legitimate, and we could talk over things to build our party. And that's where the problems started. You see,
oh boy,
I enjoy playing female PCs in RPG games. I'm not trans, it's not a fetish, I just enjoy female PCs. Being a group of teenage boys who were starting their sexual awakening, I had to deal with, are you gay? Do you wish to be a woman? Why would you do that? That's gay. Are you trying to seduce your way through the campaign? And so on. Now I grew up with a ball-busting family, so none of this bothered me, and eventually they laid off. Except for Horny. You see, he was transfixed with the idea of my female NPC, and he wanted to know all the details, which was a little weird. And I just figured that we were all a little weird and let it slide. And I didn't want to cause issues before we even started. And I rolled up some firearms expert and made her ginger with green eyes. Oh wow, real original. And said that she looked plain and boring. Then he asked about cup size, and I cut that off. Told him that this was just D&D and not some AOL sex session. And he dropped it. The next day we had our first session.
AOL.
Yeah, AOL Messenger.
That was back before. Finally, like a couple years ago.
I'm surprised it lasted that long. This is before SMS. So, the classic meet in a pub and introduce each PC thing. Things were going well. Gunslinger, warrior, mage, and of course Horny, with his horny bard. Okay.
Of course.
Fair enough. Things are starting to get into motion. When Horny comes out of left field and says, I roll to seduce Doc Chicken Wings PC. And we all stop. We have a laugh at this, and my PC was the only female PC, so we thought he was joking. He clarified he was not. So, to try and diffuse things, I said, hey, Horny, my PC is a lesbian, so no, bro, let's continue the game. Now, I know I should have shut it down harder, I should have left or something, but at the time, I was really excited to play D&D, and didn't want this to ruin it. And I figured we could push past this. Well, Horny said, well, this is DC and not real life. This is DC and...
No, this is D&D.
Yeah, this is D&D, and in the real world, men can convince lesbians to date them, so it should work here. And I should get a chance to roll and try. The DM piped up and said, I'll allow it if he gets a nat 20. You have to RP, and you have to RP flirting with him. Horny quickly rolled and got a nat 20. Hell, part of me still hoped Horny was just doing a really bad joke. Well, Horny took it serious and started getting sexual, talking about his PC grabbing my PC's breasts at the bar and trying to RP flirt with me.
Yeah, what a great way to fucking introduce yourself to a woman to try to make them like you. Just feel her up as soon as you set eyes upon her. Honestly,
at that point, like, because they were being like, oh, what, are you gay for playing a female PC? At that point, I would have turned it back on Horny for being like, oh, what, are you gay for trying to find an excuse to flirt with me? You know, because that's the kind of dynamic they have, and that would shut it down fast. Use their own homophobia against them. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Remember when I said our body types would come up? Yeah, this is it. So, here we have Horny, a male with the body of a budding plumber, trying to RP flirt with my PC, while looking at me, a male built like an adult man who speaks like a diesel engine, and was throwing up 170 pounds bench presses. In the eyes. So needless to say, I left. I took my PC sheet so he couldn't do weird things with them, told him, this is too weird and creepy, and I took my happy ass home. They tried another week to do more D&D, and the Horny was non-stop horny, so they just stopped D&D as he started to try and get the DM to RP NPC flirting and other things. All the guys there, except for Horny and the DM, gave me an apology of some kind, as they thought it was just some joke gone wrong. The DM didn't apologize, but he said he too thought it was a joke gone wrong until Horny tried to do it with him. Horny just refused to even admit he'd done anything weird, and I kept my distance from him after that.
I would too.
I didn't play D&D with Horny again for a while, and we made strict rules that he wouldn't do that again, or we would tell his parents and kick him from the group. I refused to play D&D again until 2020, and told my new group my past experience, and they said for me to play, and then I said, for me to play, I want no flirting or seducing PC characters, no stealing from other PCs, and no horny bullshit. So,
damn, this guy got traumatized. He didn't play D&D for 15 years.
Yeah, so I don't allow roles. I allow roles to try and lie to players. And if there's information of players saying that's sus, I will allow them to roll a d20 and add either their persuasion or deception modifier, depending on whether or not the information is believed to be true by the person giving it. They just say the total number and not what modifier they use, so that doesn't spoil it. It hasn't come up yet, but I don't allow seduction rolls between players.
No.
Yeah, that's a big no. Because that's taking away player agency. Yes, it is also gross, but basically doing charisma checks against players to force them to do something that they don't want to do, that is not only gross, but also taking away player agency, which is one
of the biggest sins that you can do in an RPG game.
Absolutely. And especially in my campaign, which is an open world, where y'all can go anywhere y'all want. Just let me know so that I can prepare it. But yeah, I even when one of my players was possessed by a powerful devil, I let the player play the devil possessing the character. And that was one of the funnest and most tense battles y'all have had so far.
My god, that nat 1 on that save, though.
Oh god, that turned the tide. That entire fight was just a shit show in general, in the best kind of way. So that's the fight where one of the players ended up getting unconscious, and I tried to be kind and attack with a ranged attack, targeting the unconscious player, because, you know, being unconscious makes you prone, and range attacks have disadvantage against prone people, so I was doing an attack that would give me disadvantage, so that I would probably not hit, and then it was 2 nat 20s. And that was a huge indicator of how that fight was going to go. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Hopefully there's more fights like that.
It was fine, though. Oh, yeah, that was a fun fight.
Yeah. The fights where you actually have to earn your victory are the best, but only whenever, like... Because I'm not going to oversaturate my campaign with that kind of fight, which is why y'all had...
Yeah, we're not going to always be fucking fighting to the death.
Yeah, that's why I had y'all encounter some basic-ass bandits shortly after on the road back to town, so that y'all could have an easy victory. And, yeah. Anywho, with this, don't be horny.
Yeah.
Just don't be horny. It's D&D. Being overly horny is creepy. Like, it's fine.
Flirting is fine. Yeah. Flirting is fine when it's consensual on both sides.
Yes. Like, if you want your character to
or
flirt
if you
with
know your friend is really into tail pulling.
Yeah, if you want your character to flirt with another player, you have to talk about that. You have to talk beforehand with that player to make sure that's a thing you want to do, and also bring it up with the DM so that the DM knows not to knows that it's okay on both sides. Like,
Yeah.
inter-party romance is something that all players involved in the romance plus the DM should be aware of before it starts getting serious. Oh god, now I think of that abstinence meme of where it's like, don't you think I consent? Didn't you forget to ask someone? Except it's player,
Jesus,
and then
I don't consent.
And it's player, and Jesus would be the DM. God. I mean, and that's okay for some DMs to just straight up ban inter-party romance. Because, I mean, that's an okay thing to do if the DM wants it, and they establish that before the campaign starts. So what are your thoughts?
Oh boy.
I mean, yeah, this person was an asshole, but not in the typical asshole way.
Yeah, not the typical way, but definitely not an uncommon way.
Yeah. Of course he was a fucking
Definitely
bard.
just like... Of course he was a fucking bard.
Hey, do you want to know what the problem player of the next story I'm going to read after your story, what their class is going to be?
I'm going to guess a bard.
Yep. So 2 horny bard stories, at least.
All right. So last week we had a story of
the Burning
player
Man.
who was a sequel to it.
Yes.
We had a story of we had a story about a player who was cheating and lying and being like playing with a new group and being like, I know all the rules and I think that this is a good one, and then they fucking chef.
Oh, the Cuisiner.
Yeah.
God damn. That I looked at that wiki page and that was terrible. It was worse than you described it.
Oh yeah.
Because you barely even scratched the surface.
No, I only looked at the first level shit.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it gets even more bullshit.
Mentioned in that story was the Ballad of Burning Man, another previous story written by the author about a couple weeks before, or about a week before. So, and as it goes, I must now read the mentioned story for the context.
Yes, the prequel.
So here we have. Oh, you go on?
Oh, I was just gonna make a Star Wars joke. This is the Phantom Menace of the Burning Man.
Alright, so this story is titled Ballad of Burning Man by user _TSH-crossbow. Not as popular. This one's only got 19 upvotes in the course of almost a month, so
oof.
Not as popular, but doesn't matter.
It's the same.
The other story
right?
was fun. I think it's a different problem player.
Oh.
I can actually let me I can just quickly look at the other one real quick. Real quick.
I need to buy more pink lemonade. I have about a quarter of one bottle left.
It might be the same one. I don't...
Let's just assume it's the same one.
Hold on. Yes. The problem factor as a player.
Alright.
So, full disclosure, English is not my first language, and my writing style can be a bit off at times. The story started about a year ago, and I wanted to get it off my chest. This is the Ballad of Burning Man. The game started off pretty normally. Man, he's This guy types like I do. All commas, no periods.
ADHD vibes.
Yeah. Mm. The game started off pretty normally. I was probably playing on my laptop or studying when I got a Discord notification from a server where people host games. I've been looking for a game that fits my time schedule for a while, and this one seems to work, so I shoot the DM a message, and that's how I got introduced to Burning Man. Saying that, Burning Man is a man of somewhat of a mischaracterization. He's more like a ball of problematic behaviors. Self-loathing, delusions of grandeur, and 2012 memes warped into a vaguely humanoid shape that wasn't so evident when we first met. When we first met, he appeared as a shy and somewhat dry guy. This man is not moist.
Oof.
Ugh.
Well, to be fair,
after we made our
very few people can be moist critical.
True. But anyone can be moist by buying his merch.
Yes.
You can't see it, but I like slowly gave a rising thumbs up.
Yeah.
Alright. After we made our introductions, he explained to me that his game is extremely brutal, and that I must pick one of 6 homebrew races that live in his world, and that no 2 players can pick the same race. I agreed, and he shot me a link to a server filled with his own homebrew. Now, as I stated before, English isn't my first language. However, anyone with a 4th grade reading comprehension and a passing knowledge of D&D rules will tell you that half the stuff on the server is so underpowered, literally takes you 3 turns to deal an extra 1d4 damage. Or extremely overpowered. A class that can deal 30% of its maximum HP as damage every turn for free? What the fuck? God, this man, I hate him.
I think it's... is he actually describing the races themselves, or just, like, the general D&D wiki experience?
I think he's talking about explicitly the races given.
Oh...
Remember, Burning Man is the problematic player.
I know.
He's the DM.
I know.
Oh
God, I feel like this story is gonna turn into the kind where it's just full of DMPC power gaming, exploitative bullshit.
Probably, and it's probably going to go down in flames, and it's going to be like, oh, woe is me, whatever, went so wrong.
Yeah, how do you not like my super awesome homebrew builds that just solve the problem immediately? Without you having to do it, without you, the player, having to do anything.
Now, back to the story.
Yes.
But these were the ones I could read, because the other half weren't comprehensible. Not me, nor any of the other players, had any idea what half the subclasses could do, because they were written so badly we couldn't read them. Mind you, Burning Man's mother tongue is English, and the only language he can speak is English. Yet, worst yet, I've probably spent a day or 2 looking through his homebrew, and every time I would pick something, he would say, sorry, but this subclass doesn't belong to this world, you can't play it. Or, sorry, but this subclass isn't compatible with your race, you can't play it. After I got shot down a good half dozen times, I eventually just picked an elf ranger using a subclass from an official book, so we could start the game. Now, I will be honest, I do like to min-max my characters, and my ranger was min-maxed a fair bit, but I didn't see it as an issue since he said his game was brutal and to expect to die, because he was using extremely brutal homebrew rules, including, you can cast multiple leveled spells in a turn.
Just for free?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, probably... I'm going to hope that he means a leveled bonus action spell and a leveled action spell.
Maybe action surge to get an extra action spell.
Perhaps, maybe.
But also, even Matt Mercer, who had that rule, who had a rule that would allow something similar, capped the second spell at level 1 or 2.
Ooh boy. Hold on, there's more. If you have flanking, all your attacks gain advantage. If you're knocked prone, getting up provokes an opportunity attack. If you rise from the water too fast, your lungs explode. And if you're a druid, you gain advantage on perception checks to find spike growth. Only applicable to enemies, though. The game was very broken. Burning Man didn't understand basic D&D rules, and it was made worse with him making inconsistent rulings on the spot. But so far, Burning Man wasn't so bad. He was questionable as a DM, but it wasn't so bad. He was questionable as a DM, but still not a horror story. The first red flag started flying when he would consistently misgender one of our players. Let's call them Bubbles. Bubbles is non-binary. Bubbles is non-binary, but Burning Man insisted on using she/her pronouns to call them. Bubbles would remind Burning Man to use they/them, but he would carry on. Eventually, when multiple people called him out on it, he kept doing it, but would throw in the occasional "sorry."
Ugh.
In-game, Bubbles' character is also non-binary, and at some point, an NPC asked them, "Are you a boy or a girl?"
Are you a boy or a girl?
Like it was some messed up D&D Pokemon crossover when Bubbles replied in character that they're non-binary. The next question was, why are you non-binary? Mind you, Burning Man has misgendered Bubbles 5 times before in the same session. And Bubbles stated before the game they were having an extremely bad day. It was awkward, and everyone was sure Bubbles was about to lead the campaign, but instead we just carried on. This was only the first instance of many problematic things Burning Man would do, things ranging from only asking the only black person in the group to roleplay being a slave on a pirate ship, using words like using the words gay and the R slur as insults when some of the group are neurodivergent and half the group is part of the LGBT community.
Only half? It's D&D.
Yeah, I know, an anomaly. And says he misses 2012 Call of Duty Xbox lobbies.
Ooh.
When people would call him out on this, all the while blaming his autism for all of it.
Gross. I'm going to assume by what he means by missing 2012 Call of Duty lobbies.
It means that he wants to call someone
the
F word. The N-word and the F-word at the same time while mentioning their mother.
The F-slur. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Oh god, he's the kind of person who, when playing Call of Duty, I would just mute, if possible.
Yep.
I don't know, it's been a long time since I played Last time I played Call of Duty was World at War.
I've never played a Call of Duty, and I don't plan on ever playing a Call of Duty.
Yeah, no, it's military propaganda. That's not a conspiracy. Yeah. It's literally funded by the Department of Defense in order to get people to
want to join the army.
Yeah.
All right. Back to the story.
Yes.
Now, Burning Man got it in his head that the players should be scared of the world, so he would continuously throw monsters at us that were overpowered. However, Burning Man was not very smart, and he gave everyone a lot of firepower. So we would defeat the monsters, and when we did, he would complain and cry, then he would homebrew an even stronger monster that's immune to what we did to defeat the first one. But Burning Man wasn't good at homebrewing, so whatever monster he made was defeated. This all escalated to the last session, where only 3 out of 6 players showed up to fight the big bad evil guy. The big bad evil guy would have been one-shotted by a single attack. Burning Man admitted to it. But because he doesn't understand how to write or balance homebrew, however, he kept fudging numbers, obviously I might add, to keep the big bad evil guy, where she cast 5 9th level spells at the party and barely did 40 points of damage to the cleric. And this is the big bad evil guy we were supposed to be scared of? I also want to mention that he gave the big bad evil guy a psionic ability that forces the character to self-harm or kill themselves without warning any of the players. It was the end of the campaign, and it didn't end with a bang, it ended with a whimper. I can keep going, but this is only one campaign. There was 2 other mini-campaigns between this, and he was a player in 2 of my games. I can tell you how he consistently cheated as a player. I can tell you how he tried to guilt-trip everyone to get his way. I can tell you how he would shit-talk all members of the group to other members, and I can tell you how he threatened to hurt himself when one of the players went off on him, but I will not. At least not today. He would then go on to tell it a later day.
Yep. The first one we read did that cover 2 campaigns or just 1?
I believe that was 1 campaign.
Which means, do you think that there could be a part 3 in the future?
Maybe. I'll have to keep an eye out.
Yes. Okay, so, we've already talked about this person, at least in their, attempts at using homebrew as a player. Now, as a DM, there is nothing wrong with homebrewing monsters. I have homebrewed monsters. The problem comes when you explicitly homebrew things with the intention of trying to fuck over the players in particular, because usually when that happens, the monster feels really out of place, especially if it happens right after y'all fought something with the thing that it is immune with. So if y'all beat an encounter using fire, and then I suddenly threw a bunch of fire elementals at you out of nowhere, then it would be obvious retaliation, and that is not a good thing. It usually makes the encounters feel spiteful, and also more often than not is out of place. Now, if y'all climb to the top of a frozen mountain and kill an ice deity, or not deity, an ice golem using fire, and then teleport to the 9 hells, then that would make sense for things to be immune to fire, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, this is just the DM being a huge spiteful dick because he doesn't know how to... Now, balancing encounters is hard. I will say that as a DM. Balancing encounters is hard. But it's more of an art, and you don't need to get mad if an encounter you intended to be difficult ends up being easy. But also, you should definitely keep in mind what your players can and will probably do for major fights. When y'all went to fight the devil that was possessing Varen, I knew that Corvus did have Revivify, which meant I could, when workshopping how Carmilla would work with Varen, I did take into account the possibility of resurrection, and I told her, don't go easy. Do not be afraid to kill them. But yeah, balancing is hard, but also this guy sucks because he uses D&D Wiki. I don't remember what my points were.
Fucking damned wiki.
God,
all right,
Wiki.
Read your story.
All right. This one was posted 4 days ago by Denny. And it has 1,147 upvotes.
That's a lot.
1,148 upvotes. I just upvoted it. So, this was top of the list for the week. This was the top most voted for the week. It is called Scanlan Ripoff argues that sexual assault isn't sexual assault if the victim enjoys it. So, Biddy, how much do you know about Critical Role through cultural osmosis?
I've never heard of Scanlan.
He's from Campaign 1. He's a gnome bard. He is a horny bard, but it's usually played for laughs. And
I know about that one tiefling.
That's in Campaign 2. The tieflings were in Campaign 2.
What's his name again? Starts with an M.
Mollymock?
Mollymock, that's him.
Yeah, Mollymock was great.
In my previous Strahd campaign, the DM put Mollymock in the group of what's the name?
The what?
Vistani.
Oh, yeah, I could see him.
Put him in with the Vistani.
I could see that. Anywho,
made him a trans man.
Anywho, Scanlan is he's a lovable, incorrigible bard. And he's also one of the smarter members of the group, and oftentimes does strategize with the party's brain, Percy. And he has a lot of facets to him. He's a very complex character. This Scanlan ripoff won't be. Okay, so this lovely little tale happened over lockdown, online via D&D Discord server. Hey, I do that. Trigger warning: heavy discussions of sexual assault. So I joined a D&D Discord server where people just chill and talk about D&D builds and shoot the shit. Very casual. About 6 of us would regularly pop into voice chat to meme around. We always had funny conversations with each other and got along well. The 6 of us decided to do a D&D campaign together. Casual 5e Curse of Strahd. We agreed that collectively that we can meme and go Monty Python on the campaign. That would be fantastic. Python's Curse of Strahd.
Monty Python Curse of Strahd. Oh, that sounds so good. We'd have to find someone to DM it though.
Yeah. Right as you're going to the fight, Strahd, police come out of nowhere and arrest all the characters. Either that or a giant foot comes down and squishes him. Anywho, relevant characters include me playing a Tempest Cleric Storm Sorcerer multiclass. DM, a chill dude, first time DMing, means well but regrets not jumping in earlier. Scamlan, like Scanlan but with scam in it. Critical Role ripoff. The player literally describes him as Scanlan Shorthalt, but half-elf and hot, and boasts that he's Scanlan done right. Honestly, a huge red flag, but since we're doing Monty Python game and our artificer was a Tony Stark knockoff, it went under the radar. So, there's Paladin, the only female player in the group. Remember this piece of information for later. Unfortunately, it's important. Artificer and Fighter. They aren't the stars of the story, but they're there. The whole thing happened over session 0. We did some ground rules, expectations, and explaining homebrews and all that jazz. Me, Fighter, and Paladin all mutually agreed that sexual assault was something we are not comfortable with. The DM promised not to go into that territory. Remember this piece of information. It is important for later. We'll come back to that later.
Oh boy.
Near the end of session 0, we decided to do a little combat and some RP. We did an easy save the village from goblins scenario to test out the builds and see if we wanted to change some things before we started the campaign for real. All went well. The goblins got murdered, the villagers got saved, and they threw a party for us at the local tavern. And we RP'd with our characters for a bit. This Scanlan did the stereotypical bard thing and seduced a village girl. Nothing wrong yet, even though it was supposed to be a fade to black, something we all agreed on. Scanlan then asked the DM if he can, quote-unquote, bang her till she passes out. The DM The DM awkwardly laughs and agrees, and asks Scanlan to roll a Constitution save. He clears, and the village girl passes out in bliss. A little awkward, but everyone was more or less okay since the guy didn't give any graphic detail. But then Scanlan said this.
And bring her downstairs and leave the bitch out on the table for others to use her.
This is very uncomfy pause, and Paladin politely tells him that since the village girl is unconscious, it would be sexual assault if anybody, quote-unquote, uses her. Scanlan argues that it wouldn't be sexual assault because he left her nice and sensitive and she would enjoy it. Now we're all feeling crazy uncomfy right now. Paladin again reiterates that the village girl is unconscious. It doesn't matter if her body likes it or not. And Scanlan fires back that real SA does not feel good. The villager is going to feel good, so it's not SA. And then back and forth arguments turn ugly when Scanlan starts screaming abuse at the paladin and ends when she audibly lets out a sob. The DM finally gets off his ass and kicks Scanlan from the call, and there was a very awkward silence as Paladin is sniffling and trying to get herself composed. I felt super guilty for not saying anything, but I'm a very awkward person when confrontation happens, and I tend to just shut down and not to get too personal. The DM breaks the silence and apologizes for not stepping in sooner because he was feeling shocked and didn't know how to react. The rest of us all apologized for not stepping in, citing that we also felt uncomfortable and awkward as the conversation went on and didn't know how to react. She said it was fine and that she wanted to hop off and decompress for a bit, and we ended the session right there. But don't worry, there is a happy ending. We all got together and each sent a page-long report against Scanlan. He was publicly shamed in the announcements of the Discord group and got permabanned for all time. The server owners encouraged everyone in the group to stick him on their ban list. Paladin stated she wanted to try again because she liked everyone and didn't want the game to end before it started just because of one asshole. We added a female warlock to the group and started the campaign. It ended very recently, and it was a good 2-year campaign. One of the funniest I ever played. One of the funniest I ever played.
Aw, at least it had a good ending.
Oh, absolutely. It really sucks whenever shit like this happens, and one player just swears off D&D for a long time. It's nice that it didn't ruin the D&D for anyone.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So yeah, this guy should probably belong in some kind of jail or get some serious mental help.
Yeah.
One of the biggest red flags.
Oh boy.
One of the earliest red flags is him saying that he's gonna be playing Scanlan done right, because that is such a dick thing to say. I know this is missing the forest for the trees, but.
Yeah. Thinking that you can do the character better.
Yeah.
When you have no idea the thoughts and feelings that went into making that character.
Yeah.
Fuck off, man.
And he clearly doesn't understand Scanlan because Scanlan wouldn't do that. Sam Riegel does fades to black and respects the fades to black.
Done right.
Yeah, and Sam Riegel also doesn't do anything without consent. Like, when he gets rejected, he accepts it, unless it's Pike, but that was for a running gag. But yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah, no. This guy is a disgusting person and should not be in any group. He should be socially ostracized for such a horrible take. Like, where did he learn that? Fucking, did he take Andrew Tate's courses? Or some shit? Like, that is disgusting.
Sounds like something you'd hear from a church.
Yeah, I don't think
I don't mean like a normal, like a bad church.
Yeah, it's like something you'd hear a pastor say, like, at a bar. Yeah. Anywho, I'm glad it had a happy ending with him getting perma-banned and on everyone's block list.
Oh, yeah.
And that they continued the campaign and enjoyed it and got another player to fill the spot that wasn't a piece of shit.
Yeah, shame their friend turned out to be a horrible sack of shit.
Yeah, but that stuff happens.
Who was so willing to argue that it wouldn't be rape.
So about
that he would yell at another person until they cried.
Yeah, I've actually lost a friend for... Well, I didn't lose a friend, but one of my friends lost a friend. For similar reasons. So, several years back, we had... back when Tumblr Ask blogs were a thing, and at the height of My Little Pony on Tumblr, me and a few friends like Scraps and Rose Knight and a couple others decided to make a collab blog where each of us, where the Pony Kingdom had fallen, the elements had been split across the world, and each of us had governance over one kingdom. I obviously had the Deer Kingdom. I think Rose had like the ruins of the Pony Kingdom with ghosts. Someone was someone was those fairy ponies that I can never remember the name of. There was dragons, but the problem player was the griffin. Now
they're called flutter ponies, I think. Wait, hold on.
Maybe.
No, I think Gen 5.
They're called Fluttershies. No. Anywho.
Flutter Ponies is the Gen 1 ones.
Yeah. Anywho, it doesn't matter. The only characters that matter in this tangent is me, Scraps, and Scraps' old friend, who he was friends with for years. So what happened was Scraps' friend, who did the Griffin Kingdom, stated that they wanted their Griffin King to assault my Deer Queen, and I gave a hard no. And they were like, "Oh, but it'd be so
easy."
Yeah, them. And he was like, "Oh, but think about it." I was like, "Okay, I thought about it. Still no. It seems like it'd be something done purely for shock value." And they insisted, and pretty much everyone was like getting creeped out by their insistence. Yeah, and he was like, "All right, well, I'm going to ask Scraps, and he'll make it happen." And because he was under the impression, because Scraps was the one who invited him, he was under the impression that this was Scraps' project, when it was actually a project created by me and Rose when we were shooting the shit. And we brought Scraps into it because Scraps is, a cool dude and a good friend, and brought the others into it. but also there was no one person that had final say on like group decisions. It was a group decision kind of thing. And so he asked Scraps, and Scraps was like, I don't remember the exact conversation, and I can't look it up because it was back on Skype. But
Skype is fucking dog shit and deletes things that are like a year old.
Yeah, also I don't have Skype installed.
There's also that. There's no point in having it anymore.
Yeah, Discord will still delete shit, but it at least waits for it to be 4 years old before it deletes it.
And that's why I use Telegram, which doesn't delete anything unless you tell it to.
Yeah. So anywho, it came down to Scraps' friend being like, hey, okay, well, either you're going to choose, you have to choose between me, your friend, or them. And Scraps, I don't know if you know this, fucking hates ultimatums, especially that kind. And ended the friendship right then and there because of how bullshit it was to force him into that kind of situation. Like, that was the most mad I have ever seen Scraps, and I understand why. Because this was someone he was friends with for years. And they were acting this way, leveraging their friendship over taking away the agency of someone else in a project that was a group project. And, he ended that friendship right then and there. The person later was in... I think they also made their way into Docs in a Box, but also got kicked out for not the same reason, but similar reasons of like being a dick and trying to insist that a thing should happen when the people people are like, no, that I don't want that to happen, and like, you know, a group voting that shouldn't happen. So he got kicked out of Docs in a Box and then tried to make his own, but it failed. I found out he tried to make his own because when I briefly had a Discord at 11th Doctor Who's, they contacted me trying to get me to join their Docs in a Box, and I was like, no. And then they learned that I was...
you're like, ah.
Oh no, I didn't know it was them.
Oh, you didn't? Oh.
I didn't know it was them. It was them who found out that I was me, and started being a dick to my blog and to my Doctor Who's blog, and then started being a dick on my blog, being like, why do you hate me? And my response was, I don't even know you, which pissed them off a lot. And Scraps was the one who had to explain who they were, because they had changed their blog like 4 times at that point. Anywho, consent is a very important part of D&D, and pretty much everything in general. Don't be afraid to cut off a friendship if someone is being a huge creep. It's gonna hurt if they're friends for a long time, but it'll be way better in the long run to cut them out of your life.
Yeah. Agreed.
God.
Now, we do still have one more story.
Yes.
From Reddit, at least. I don't know, maybe Silver will have another tangent of her more interesting and varied life than mine.
I mean, I could
also
also try reading that one other story that I
maybe save for next week.
Oh yeah, I will. It's also not safe for work.
So many wiener stories.
There were a lot of not safe for work stories this week.
So many wiener stories. Reddit, I know you can hear me. Stop letting all the wiener stories on the RPG horror stories.
Hey, some of them are boob stories. Some of them are female presenting nipple stories.
Anyway, here we have in this post titled Dan the Man, A Tale of a Tiefling Werewolf by user Goku King 922.
Oh my god, that's such a powerful name.
I think King Goku would have been more powerful, but Goku King, he is a king who is a Goku.
Yes.
So recently, I got to join my first campaign in 4 years. A pirate-themed Dungeons & Dragons campaign.
Hey, I have one of those.
Session 0, we made our characters. As a DM of 4 years, I helped the new players with their first ever characters to help out our DM, who is a first-timer. Myself and 2 others are more experienced in the game, both as players and DMs, and our characters were made relatively quickly. Characters include me, a Luxodon artificer named Chuman. 2, a water genasi swashbuckler rogue named Nero, a parrot Aarakocra bard named North. Ooh, parrot Aarakocra, you gotta write that down. Gotta remember that.
No, I have one planned. His name is Polly.
Of course. A human bone mage named Zavi, a reflavored sorcerer who just loves bones.
Yeah.
And a human sorcerer ghost. We use the Lingering Soul Matt Mercer class for level 1, or for 1 level, named Milo. And lastly, Dan.
Yeah. Polly is spelled like Polly Shore.
Dan's player was making his character sheet when I finished helping Milo and Nort's players with their characters. I looked over and saw this man was on D&D Wiki, open to a class called the Lycanthrope.
Oh, not D&D Wiki again! He can't keep getting away with it! He can't!
And switching between that and a Google Doc he was using for his character sheet. Thankfully, I found out later he was given a prestige homebrew class to use instead of the other one. After the characters are made, I hear the DM say she will be giving everyone a free magic item, so long as we run it by her first. I can overhear the 2 of them talking about his magic item, a great sword he forged on his own. Well, I'm taking a moment to think about what I wanted. I ended up asking if I could take the homunculus servant infusion as my magic item choice. This became a clockwork constructed parrot named Cotton. Nice.
Fuck yeah.
Nero had already made his item with the DM prior to Session 0. They're friends outside the group and have played D&D before, so they had this planned already. Pretty awesome in my opinion. Dan's player, however, decides he wants a greatsword, which can permanently give him the effects of protection from good and evil. The effects. As in, no need for concentration, and no time limit.
No.
Now, in case you're wondering why this is so unbelievably overpowered, allow me to read the spell description.
Yes.
Until the spell ends, 1 willing creature you touch is protected against certain types of creatures. Aberrations, celestials, elementals, fays, fiends, and undead. The protection grants several benefits. Creatures of those types have disadvantage on attack rolls against the target. The target also can't be charmed, frightened, or possessed by them. The target's already charmed, frightened, or possessed by such a creature. The target has advantage on any new saving throw against the relevant effect. So this means he can resist aboliths, mind flayers, demons, angels, vampires, anything fey, ghosts, zombies, and so much more that I simply cannot list here in one post. I didn't even realize this until he brought it up during one of the sessions, but I'll explain further soon. In the meantime, let's take a look at what else has happened so far. First of all, when the DM was making our first map after character introductions, Dan's player kept asking questions and giving our DM advice for making maps. He kept on bringing this up to the point we wasted almost 10 minutes on this conversation. It took Nero's player to actually bring the focus back on the campaign. On top of that, he accidentally broke a magic item being sold by a vendor and decided to refuse to pay. I then nat 20 to slide a hand check to get that coin purse from Dan and pay the person for the broken magic item. He got pissed off, and every time the DM tried to say he gets away, he kept interrupting her, trying to come up with a way to slow him down.
How much? How much XP did they get from breaking that magic item? Does it say?
No.
Okay, then I'll assume they were doing milestone then.
Yeah, plus probably just by accident. I don't think you should level up by something you do on accident.
Well, I mean, breaking magic items, if you're using XP, you do get a significant amount of XP based on how powerful the magic item is. Though if it broke by accident, it probably wasn't a very powerful magic item. Because
yeah, probably.
Typically, the more powerful the enchant is, the harder it is to break.
He then proceeded to make the rest of the session all about Dan by going off, running away to cry, and giving us this talk about he's not a pirate like us and doesn't like how we steal and shit. Why'd you make a character who doesn't like how pirates are if you're joining a pirate game? It was blatantly described as a pirate D&D game. You were meant to make some kind of pirate, or at least someone with a love of the sea. This guy hates getting wet and doesn't like pirates. But to keep the plot going, we had to take him with us.
It's like that SpongeBob meme, you know, I don't want ice cream. Then why did you ask me to buy it for you?
You asked me to buy it for you.
Yeah. I love that meme.
Then we got to the next session, where we discovered a long-necked dinosaur who had this flower crown that could put people under mind control. Cool.
Oh, but the sword will make the person immune. Dan immune, right?
Maybe. This was actually the session where we learned just how powerful this sword was, as the dino couldn't even touch Dan, no matter what. We eventually beat her and got her crown for ourselves, but damn was it even easy because of that stupid sword. The DM asked me how she could or should get that sword off of him, and I simply just told her, "You're the DM. You can get rid of it any time." Apparently, this resulted in the two talking a bit about getting Dan a new sword, one owned by one of the universe's gods. This was all good, and honestly, I was just glad to see the old greatsword gone. That would take a few sessions, though. Eventually, we make it.
You know how I would have. You know how I would have handled it.
Rocks fall.
No, I would have had like a shady merchant come by and present a sword that, when you viewed with like detect magic, is like blinding, and make it have the pitch be that it's even more powerful than the old sword. He'll trade it for the old sword for a discount, as well as like 500 gold. And then it turns out the enchant is just like an upcasted light spell, like a level 9 just light spell, which just that you have to like click to activate. So basically scam him out of the old sword.
That's funny.
And then when he tries to go back to the merchant's store is completely empty.
The merchant's store was never there.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it would be a great way to have like the fake merchant be like a considerable antagonist of like maybe some kind of wizard who travels around the world, magically sets up a magic shop to try and scam adventurers out of powerful magic items. I need to write that down.
Maybe some sort of trickster god.
Oh yeah, I guess that could work.
Make him look exactly like Tavel, but purple. Now, on to the story.
Yes.
Eventually, we make it to a Halloween session, where we end up in a dreamscape of sorts. We entered the memories of an NPC, which was infested with these ghostly creatures trying to take us out of it. Immediately after the DM describes the scene, this guy has the audacity to say, "I know you told me not to do this, but now I have to say it. This is just like this quest from Skyrim." He said the quest by name, but I honestly can't remember it. This pissed me off more than it pissed her off. Clearly, you two had conversation between session explaining that this annoyed our DM, and yet you just have to continue doing it despite knowing this. If it were me, he would have been gone a long time ago, but this would have been the last straw if it were my game. Unfortunately, however, it's not my game, so I couldn't do anything about it. Over the course of the following sessions, we would get into epic battles with other pirate crews and giant sea creatures under the command of our big bad evil guy. The entire time, Dan continued to do things that got under our skin despite what our DM would tell him. One session, he even stated he wasn't having fun anymore because of a decision that negatively affected him, and only him, that she had made, not knowing it was negative. He would complain similarly when her monster had an effect that would dispel our spells as a sort of second phase reset. She was extremely respectful about his cutting words, but would eventually text me and ask if this was just him being him, or if we all felt this way. Naturally, it was just him. I felt like shit throughout this campaign. Don't get me wrong, it was an awesome campaign and was very well written, especially for a first-time DM. But as Dan continued to do what he wanted to do, I always wished I could stop him or help her more. And she came to me with a proposition. In the final battle, she would give me full permission to kill Dan. She didn't care anymore. Frankly, I didn't either. I'm sure we were probably not much better than him for doing this, but honestly, most of us were done with it anyway. Plus, it just felt good. Admittedly, I was having second thoughts about doing this until the second to last session. For context, a little Leviathan made a pact with Nero, and unknowingly the rest of us, and a god of hunting wanted to get rid of the little guy. In order to get rid of him, he needed to surgically remove it from our souls, which he could only do if our souls were separated from our bodies. So we ended up in an unwinnable battle. The fight lasted for 2 sessions, mostly due to others not knowing what they would do on their following turns.
Well, I hate that.
As it was just me and Dan left standing, waiting for him to come out and attack. It was just me and Dan left standing, waiting for him to come out and attack us again. But as we waited, Dan killed himself.
What?
His player realized that we were going to be revived after the fight was done, and decided that Dan would kill himself to get out of such a gruesome death. This left my boy Chuman to die alone and surrounded by the corpses of his newfound crewmates. The PTSD of losing his crew a second time made him endure a panic attack in his final moments. In character, I felt Chuman would be pissed off that Dan did that to him, that he would take his own life just to avoid an honorable death.
Hey,
so when
the DM could resurrect everyone else who died an honorable death and have it be that, oh, Dan, because you took your own life, you can't be resurrected. That's a way out to having to deal with him.
So, when we resurrected, our last interaction of the session reflected that. I said, in character, "You coward, you left me to die! You killed yourself like a coward and left me to die!" while pointing his arcane firearm at him. I actually own a rubber band gun that I bring to sessions as a prop for any gun-related activities, actively pointing this at the player. Those words, however, apparently triggered something in him, however. Dan's player decided I was making jokes about suicide, and that I'm being insensitive to him and his self-insert character because I dared to make those comments. I told him he was being a dick over literally nothing, told him that by all means my statements were not jokes as he claimed, and that the entire interaction was reflective of Schumann's emotional state and had nothing to do with me as a player. The other players, and DM, all agreed he was being ridiculous about this. But after that entire interaction, I decided then and there that I needed to end Dan, once and for all. So in comes the final session. Dan has one final showdown with his campaign nemesis, resulting in him casting Remove Curse on the guy. He had a curse keeping him alive, and instantly killing him. Then came the true final battle against the big bad evil guy. During the fight, I pulled out a secret weapon of mine. A spell storing item. A rib bone from the previously mentioned dinosaur, containing the spell Scorching Ray. By using these boots that let me cast haste on myself without concentration, and then casting haste on my familiar as he sat on top of the bone, I was able to fire off 4 Scorching Rays in one turn.
Fuck yeah.
With my Elemental Adept feat, I was able to ignore fire resistance. Fire resistance, like Dan, the Tiefling. I had a very clear shot to do it. I had an opportunity at the end of battle, but I didn't take it.
What?
As much as it pained me not to, I realized getting revenge over something so petty was just stupid, childish behavior.
That's a lie. I don't believe it.
I feel weird about not killing Dan. On one hand, I wanted it so bad to watch the culmination of our disdain to fall by my hands. But seeing how happy he was with the Jan's ending, I didn't have the heart to do it. Still, I think his well-known behavior is probably going to make it pretty hard for him to get into any campaigns. If anything, I killed his chances there. But I suppose we'll see if anything else comes from that. For now, thank you for reading.
Coward.
Coward.
Anyone who says, like, revenge doesn't satisfy you has not had revenge, because it is delicious. Like,
revenge is so good.
Revenge is so good, and you got the go-ahead from the DM. God. Yeah, so, I guess,
moral of the story, kill the idiot.
Yeah, kill the idiot. Or
kill the idiot.
If you're a DM and the idiot takes, has their character, if I was the DM, I absolutely would have, like, made the argument that because Dan's character killed himself, he couldn't be revived.
It's obvious because, reviving
requires a willing soul.
Willing soul. And obviously, if you killed yourself, you wanted to die.
Or have there be certain rules to resurrection, like additional rules. Like, if they die from disease or they die from old age, they can't be revived. Go the Dragon Ball route. And, like, have one of the rules be like, if they take their own life, they can't be revived. They sever the connection.
We gotta cure Goku's super cancer.
Yeah, his heartworm. That's what it was, a heartworm that killed him, and that's why they couldn't revive him in Trunks' timeline. But yeah.
I can't remember if it was canon or if it's from the abridged, but I remember the medicine being grape flavored.
That's the abridged. Because it was a running gag that Goku hates grape flavored things because of his Saiyan biology.
Alright.
Yeah, it's
Saiyan-shaped artificial grape.
Yeah, grapes make Saiyans sweat purple in the abridged.
Gross.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, the players should have been kicked as soon as they logged on to D&D Wiki. Because don't trust Dan Wiki. It is terrible. It is not good. It is broken in every single goddamn way possible.
Yeah, just don't.
Yeah. So, I guess that concludes this episode of the Posscast. The lessons learned are: don't be a horny creep. Stay off Dandwiki. Don't be a horny creep, and stay off Dandwiki.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. God, I can't believe both of us independently ended up having stories. Like, both of mine were about horny people, and both of yours were about homebrew power gaming. Funny how that stuff works out. But yeah, tune in next week, where we will have more, even worse stories, maybe. I think the Scanlan ripoff has the title of worst story so far. Maybe I'll put a plaque in the background. I'll put a plaque or something in the background next week of worst story so far, and we'll update it whenever there's a new one.
We'll update it when we deem it necessary.
Yeah.
We won't have a best of though.
Yeah, no. The best story so far, like the best one, is probably the one about the Curse of Strahd, where they were trying to make Esmeralda French and ended up ooh-woo. Because nobody was harmed in the making of that story, except for the DM's ego, or the DM's pride.
Haha.
But yeah, that's the only one I would consider to not be absolute dog shit. Well, actually no, the players ignoring the big laser is one I wouldn't consider absolute dog shit, because that's just failing to do context clues. There was no problem player per se in that one. But yeah, yeah. Anywho, check out some of the other stuff on the channel. Biddy and I recently finished Ace Attorney, and we started Minish Cap, which posted yesterday. By the time this goes up. So definitely, we have plenty of fun jokes, I promise.
Totally.
We named our character a silly name. We had wonderful voices for the characters. We had there was that one joke, Pity. You know the one.
Exactly.
Yeah, so definitely go check that out.
We reference things.
Yeah, there's obviously a Princess Bride reference, because that's mandatory.
I referenced Monty Python about 20 minutes in.
Yeah. So, I think I referenced it. Didn't I? Who started the reference? Go back and watch it, and then you'll figure out who started the reference. Yeah. There's also Tabletop Thursdays, where Biddy, Chalkfy, and I play Tabletop Simulator. The last game we played was Munchkin Cthulhu. And maybe Steampunk, if there was time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
There is also Hollow Knight, although that has not had many episodes lately due to my co-host being unavailable due to work obligations, unfortunately.
Oh.
Yep. There is also Jack and Daxter, which is much the same. Anywho, comment challenge. What's the worst thing you've ever seen on DanWiki? Oh shit, did we do that last time?
I think.
Fuck.
Heck.
What is your worst experience with a bard?
Oh boy. Okay, so.
Give me the deets.
So in my first D&D campaign, my tiefling satire bard, Karlek.
Yeah?
We had come across an orchard.
Oh boy.
We'd come across an orchard, and there was a lady that needed our help. She needed to because as we were there, we noticed there was some other people, just kind of like some other adventurers there, and then they fucked off.
Yeah?
So, I think they were arguing with a lady. I think. So, she needed our help. Turns out that the bard of that group had just cast
Charm person?
What is that one spell?
Charm person?
No,
Dominate person?
no, it's nothing like that.
What's it do?
It's the one that like makes a place holy.
Sanctify, hollow?
Sanctify.
Yeah.
He had sanctified the orchard.
Yeah?
The issue is that in Concordia, the continent in which we were playing on,
Yeah?
necromancy is legal
Okay.
and common among the farmer folk.
Yeah, to
You see, it's considered
free
pretty
labor.
good. It's considered somewhat honorable to be able to help out your family, to be able to help on the farm even after your death.
What a coincidence. There's similar sentiment in certain parts of Aelm in my campaign.
So this bard had just made the entire orchard's working force unable to do anything.
Well, the orchard's not going to be there much longer.
For a couple days, because he had been coming back every day to re-sanctify it.
Oh no, that's going to make it permanent if he does that enough.
Yeah, well, if he does it for a year.
Oh god.
So I don't remember the exact length, but it was long enough to have a detriment on the trees.
Yeah, I'll bet. Jesus Christ.
Because they weren't able to be pruned, picked, or watered for a decent while.
Like at least 2 months.
Yeah, so I get in there and I cast Dispel and I get it on my first try, and then all of the zombies just kind of start going back to work. And
Yeah.
then when they come back, because of course the other group comes back, we're like, hey man, I know you're not from here, but this is legal.
This is fine.
Yeah.
They're not hurting anyone.
Yeah, like that kind of talk.
Yeah. Well,
later on, I would give him a cursed circlet that would. It had something to do with like. It would let you. It was cursed. It was cursed, obviously. It was a cursed circlet. That would. I think it boosted your intelligence. But if you were dealt enough damage, I think that's what it was. If you were damaged enough, you would go into a berserk rage like a barbarian.
Oh boy.
And it as a circlet, it's explicitly marketed towards mages.
Yeah. So.
Do you know what you can't do while you're raging?
Cast spells or concentrate.
Cast spells or hold concentration.
Yeah, you can hit stuff with your flimsy stick ass wizard arms.
So
God.
I gave him that circlet, and he didn't know it was cursed until like 2 sessions from the end when the world was ending. And I was like, "Hey man, I just want to apologize. That thing's cursed." He was like, "Nah, it's fine.
Oh
It's a
boy.
good circlet."
Well, it
Thank
increases intelligence, not wisdom.
Yep.
All right.
Or it was something like that. Maybe it increased charisma, or I don't know. Maybe it was like something where like it would let you use like your casting modifier instead of strength or something. I don't know.
That gives me some ideas for some cursed artifacts. Maybe one that like increases your like maybe armbands that like increase your intelligence, but like if you get bloodied, you go into a rage and it swaps your intelligence and strength or something. I don't know.
Sounds neat, but
like
dangerous.
a Hulk kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way, I do like the idea of zombie farmers. There is a place in my campaign where that does happen, which maybe y'all will visit someday.
Probably.
Probably.
I gotta find a cool rock from there. And probably activate up a old place.
Yes. So, anywho, with that out of the way, there's no left to say back. Good night, everybody.
Bye!